and welcome to the Rocket League Showcase here at VESL. Alongside the one, the only Zep, I'm Stu, the announcer, rocking out with you here. You already know what it is out here in the Carolinas, and we have the Rocket League Showcase, and it is a showcase for a reason. And game number one, Zep, we got the Bulls running wild in Durham. It's an intercity matchup between Durham Art and Durham Tech.
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to come out on top here? We are going to be seeing very shortly as these games are about to get underway. Really looking forward to the games that we have this evening. I mean, I always enjoy being able to sit here and just being able to cast over some Rocket League, seeing what these teams are bringing to the table. And one thing we always have to remind the viewers, right, when we're talking about what these teams can bring, they're all high school players, right? They're bringing it at such a young age. We see some of these players and we're like, these must be pretty experienced Rocket League players, and yet some of them are just, I want to say, almost half the age that I am. Not to completely give away my age as of yet, but my God, I mean, the level that some of these players bring to the table and what we've seen so far throughout this season has been spectacular, and I can't wait to see some more.
I mean, I can't speak for you. I'm 25 and I have been for the past 8 years, but at the same time, the way that some of these guys, you do really kind of run the gamut when it comes to these rosters, right? You have some kids who are in bronze and just trying to get better, and they're going to play this game for fun for as long as they may. And then there are these kids that are, you're looking at them in Diamond or even like the levels beyond that, like SSL or whatever, that are going to be like, they're getting looked at. They're getting their looks, and now they're here playing in the high school game, and really just makes you wonder like how far some of these kids can go. And again, you kind of take it with a grain of salt, the competition that they're playing against, but you know that the potential is there. Certainly within these two teams, we're going to be seeing maybe a modicum of that.
Yeah, I mean, the competition certainly is varied, but you start off at a certain age, or you start off at any particular place in gaming or any sport, you've got to start somewhere, right? And where you start, it might be just, trouncing on people that you know from your class or from your area, went to a different school, and then from there is where you grow, you gain your experience, and then as you start getting noticed, you move up to the higher echelons of the game and really start to make a name for yourself. It's greatness from small beginnings, and not necessarily that this is small beginnings. I mean, they get to go, they get to play, and they get to be casted over. It's really fun. I mean, I know when I was younger and wanting to be getting into games and playing them competitively, the idea of being able to play in something like this, being from Europe, the opportunities weren't as much. It's such a spectacular thing to have. So these players have a really cool facility in front of them to be able to showcase their talent and hopefully for them move up the ladder in the future.
Absolutely. And now that we're seeing that opportunity kind of presented to them, I mean, what is it that you're looking for from a potential big name?
Well, I think honestly, you just got to be being dominant, being respectful of your opposition at the same time, not doing too much showboating, unless you're doing it in a position where you're actually able to show off the talent that you have. But if you're dominating a game, don't just start dribbling around with some nonsense. Like, play some good Rocket League. Ultimately, you have 5 minutes a game to show what you've got. You just got to bring it, and you got to play your best Rocket League. Don't let your head drop at any moment.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going for double flip resets out of nowhere, then I guess it's there's a practical use to it, right? But at the same time, come on, have a little bit of tact. All things in time for certain. But as we're about to get things started here between Durham Art and Durham Tech, going through these rosters, Cataclysm, Arcs, and Habibi for Durham Art on the side of Durham Tech. Dutch 4, I think we're going to be going with that. Dutch 4T3, Otaku, Drift. I'm going to say these names fully once, and then we're just going to shorten them, okay? Dutch 4T3, Otaku, Drift 56G74, and Ebix Amity. I think I'm just going to shorten it to Ebix. Dutch, Drift, and Ebix from here on in. I can definitely say if brevity is the soul of wit, then maybe Durham Art has the advantage, but at the same time, we're not judging names here, are we?
No, absolutely. We're not judging names. We are judging skill, as we're looking like we're about to get underway with this game number one, this match one. Fingers crossed, I was going to say. I meant best of luck to both of these teams as they get into this one. Let's see who is going to come out on top.
Luck be a lady tonight, perhaps. Cataclysm looking for an open goal and finds it, and 10 seconds into the match, Durham Art's taking advantage, going through the air, and as easy as that was, a cataclysmic defensive lapse for Durham Tech. Durham Arts going to take full advantage, courtesy of a goal from Cataclysm.
Yeah, Durham Arts taking the early lead, starting off on the strong foot, potentially going to come in for a second again as they have complete control of the air, hitting it off the backboard, just waiting for the second, and it goes in just over 20 seconds deep. Durham Tech 2 goals to the negative. Already not looking good for them in this game one.
It was almost reminiscent of, at halftime at a basketball game, and you see those guys breaking out the trampolines and they're just banging the basketball off of the backboard until one of them eventually dunks it. That was kind of what we saw a little bit. I mean, the pass right in front of the goal mouth is wild enough.
Oh,
and
my God.
you're talking about you don't need to be dancing around in the box. You can just do it right off the rip, the across the field touch on from Habibi, and Cataclysm is going to put another tally to his name. We're 29 seconds in, Zep.
Yeah, I mean, Cataclysm with a fantastic goal, but what a fantastic team orchestrated effort to send that up, and it looks like they're maybe about to score another here. Potential calamity at the back, as it's eventually just virtually dribbled into their own net by themselves, but Habibi doing the hard work up front to make life difficult. And, already perhaps we're seeing a golfing class. We talked about the variety of skill levels throughout, and this could be another case of it being strong here. But, take nothing away from Durham Arts. They're playing some terrific Rocket League, and, Durham Tech, they haven't really had a chance to get going yet. So maybe once they do, we can see what they can bring to the table. But so far, being 4 goals down a minute deep's not how you want to be starting.
Arcs was a couple of pixels away from one of the more spectacular goals that we had seen in a long time. Habibi is going to clean that up, however. And less than a minute in, the tally of 5-0, and Habibi touches it on. Drift not able to get their hood on it. That is, I will say, if nothing else, Zep, an eventful first minute of this one.
Yeah, eventful is one way to put it for sure. I mean, I do think Durham Arts have just capitalized very early on the fact that Durham Tech, if they're scoring another one here, it actually just, it leans into my point perfectly. Durham Arts capitalizing on the fact that Durham Tech are just really uncomfortable in the air. From that moment that we seen this game begin, Durham Arts been sending that ball high against the backboard, off the walls, getting in the air, whether it be for shots or passes. Durham Tech, every ball they've hit, it's been on the ground. It's not really been going anywhere. It's been to hit and hope, and they've just had no control of this game at all as of yet.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The control through the air, Habibi is going to show us exactly how that is done. I think perhaps even going for the flip reset there. Did not get it, but I don't think they'll mind Arcs trying to poach the goal. I think Habibi and Arcs are probably having a little bit of a back and forth about that one. But nevertheless, that's Durham Arts with a touchdown and an extra point on Durham Tech. We're playing the other kind of football, though, Zep.
Yeah, Durham Arts just really having their fun now with this game. And again, we've just seen another goal where they just glided it through the air, not even really having any pace or momentum on the ball. Just Durham Tech, they're not really, even look at that defense there. If they just literally cannot get up, they don't have any air control with the greatest of respects to them. They just aren't able to get up there and seem to even defend the crossbar at any point. And Durham Arts, every time they get into that final third, they're just keeping it high and just drifting it into those top corners.
Yeah, I gotta say, I do want to point out, because we've been talking about Cataclysm and Habibi, the people who have been primarily on the score sheet. I do want to point out that Arcs has been really good at winning these balls, either out of the back or on the side, putting Durham Tech into these compromised positions. And not only that, getting those touches on to Cataclysm, like they did on that 8th goal, touching it on, making sure that all momentum was taken away from Durham Tech, as Arcs is going to bang it off of the backboard again. Cataclysm looking for it, but is going to whiff it as it goes into the Durham Arts end. And probably proving that good Rocket League really is more of an art than a science.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that has hit the nail on the head, because Durham Tech, they're just sort of struggling with every hit here, where Durham Durham Arts, with every time they touch the ball, there's a purpose to it, right? Even if they're just blocking a pass or blocking a shot, whatever it may be, they're always making sure they angle themselves to where that they're going to have a teammate free to get on the end of that and start orchestrating a counter-attack or opportunity of their own. And that's just kind of indicative of the difference in level and difference in class that you can find in a game like this at times. I mean, you know, it's one of those ones that the difference in class is almost so startling that it's hard to even say how good Durham Arts are. I mean, they clearly are better than Durham Tech in the way that they're performing here at the moment, but they're not being challenged at all. We're not seeing how they can play on the defense. We're not seeing them kind of being put under any pressure. They're just getting to play exactly how they want to play in a very comfortable fashion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot more comfortable moving in the air, but I mean, the ground movement as well, maybe just a little bit more of an understanding of what positioning is in Rocket League. I mean, it's not just the set sort of defense, you know, and then sweeper and then midfielders as you would see in traditional soccer or football for the international viewers, obviously. But you're seeing it's more just you are kind of tasked to do everything. Like, you're on a rotation, and this is a little bit more of an understanding of that on the side of Durham Arts. Meanwhile, you have Drift kind of sitting in trying to be the goalie, like the dedicated goalie for Durham Tech. And it just doesn't quite work like that in this game as we get to 1 minute remaining. And the action has died down, but oh, wait a second. I think, Arcs might have gotten the reset there, but yeah, this is where you start working on your tech and everything. Oh, Cataclysm keeping it out of the goal, so the shutout is still on, Zep.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying about, you know, how almost like the fundamentals of Rocket League in terms of positioning and how Durham Arts play it, like, even just seeing the passes, the touches, the finesse that comes with playing at this level. But going back to the point, I mean, even how I always broke down Rocket League for myself is that I broke it down to a law of thirds. It's like, are you either playing left, center, or right, or are you playing back, middle, or front, you know? And I think that's how you have to look at rotational plays to a basic extent, is that look at where your teammates occupying, look at the way that they're facing, the momentum that they're bringing to the way that they're facing, and then where you can best play to kind of coincide with how they're playing. It's like very basic level stuff that if you break it down, it can very easy to understand, but then obviously you put the finesse on it like Cataclysm just did there, where, you know, again, front right, BB getting the touch, Arcs getting the pass, and Cataclysm coming through the center for the finish to make it 9-0 at the death of game one. What a performance from Durham Arts.
A crucial last goal for the 9-0 win. Makes you wonder if goal differential is part of it. Yeah, I think the game score says it all. I mean, Arcs, again, with 3 assists on the game, leading the club, in fact. I mean, what else can you really say about that? That was a roll.
Yeah, I mean, absolute romp. I mean, Habibi on their way to 1,000 points, 6 goals, 1 assist, 5 shots. I mean, look, we've just seen a difference in class across the board, right? There's no other way to put it. Everyone at Durham Arts was linking together so well, just completely nullifying Durham Tech to the point where I'm sure Durham Tech have something to bring to the table. They just never had the opportunity to show it at any point in that game. And that again, you have to give massive credit to Durham Arts for putting Durham Tech in that position.
Yeah, and you got to give it to, you really do have to give it to Durham Arts for, yeah, the way that they were working things around, the way that they were moving the ball, the way that they were positioning themselves, their understanding of the nuances of the game, the meta, and through tactics, really. You know, when you're trying to you're trying to work things through as Durham Tech. I don't even know if you can take anything from that particular game. It's just like they were better than you and get better. Anyway, you have at least 2 more games to go. Like, I feel for Durham Tech in that sense, because you do have a lot to work on. But at the same time, I think there might have been some areas of opportunity where they could have pounced. But if not for maybe the loss of confidence from the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you kind of did hit the nail on the head there. It is just a case of where there's nothing that they can learn from that game, right? All they can really do is just pick themselves up from here, try to play their Rocket League, find a way to play their Rocket League, right? They're clearly able to do something, and just try and find moments to bring that to the table. And just working that defense a little bit, and you know, maybe from there you can go maybe sneak a goal or two, because I mean, look, I think that golfing class is evidence, but take something away from the game so that at least this series, if not anything, is a learning experience to build on in the future.
I mean, if adversity builds character, then Durham Tech are going to be pillars of society. I can certainly say that. But I will, again, you do have that point where maybe you can sneak in a goal. Maybe you can sneak in a shot, right? Like, they did have one shot on goal, I believe. And I don't know. I kind of wonder if perhaps there is even that opportunity to go. As we're going into game number 2, I believe that both teams are readied up. We are going to see Durham Arts. I mean, maybe they're going to work on a little bit more. Maybe they're treating this more as a scrimmage and toying around, and maybe therein lies the opportunity for Durham Tech to do something. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be just a case of Durham Tech, if they're going to really get anything from any of these games, it is going to be Durham Arts dropping the standards a little bit, which I think if you decide Durham Arts, you want to make sure you don't do. I mean, look, as you said, if you're going to use it as a scrimmage opportunity, you know, maybe try out some new play, see how they work in a competitive setting, then yeah, go for it. But the last thing you want to do is to take your foot off the gas pedal, you know, underrate or underestimate your opposition, not play to your full extent. Again, we've been there sometimes in games where you think you've got the upper hand against another team and you can just begin to feel a little bit cocky, but you got to put that to one side, make sure to keep playing your game and just get over the finish line and be professional about it, because again, if you're trying to go somewhere in Rocket League, in any esports that is, professionalism goes a long way.
We're seeing now the ball kept in that orange end as it has been throughout the course of that last game. Bumped on by Habibi. Arcs gonna bump it back to Habibi. He was out of position, had to get back onto the, had to get the momentum back and drift. And Dutch going to run into each other. It's bumped into the other end, but a little bit of miscommunication there from Durham Tech, and that is something that they cannot afford to do, especially with an absolute goal in the back. Goodness gracious, had Durham City Limits in between Durham Tech and the ball. And now Cataclysm and Arc's going to try to mount the offensive yet again with Habibi taking up the wing.
Yeah, I mean, so far we're nearly 2 minutes into this game, no goals on the board as of yet, but you know, I think that is just because Durham Arts are playing a little more tentative. They're trying to work in their build-up plays a little more, slow the game down and see how they can play from there. And personally, I like to see that. They're sort of self-implementing different styles, different paces of the game, just to see how they can react to it as they look to maybe get cross on here. Doesn't quite work, but at the same time, give credit to Durham Tech. They haven't let one in yet.
Absolutely, and almost at the halfway point, though the ball is on the orange half. Arcs is going to bump it out. Over to Habibi, who's going to put a shot on goal. It goes off of the left post. And Dutch going to try to clear things out. It's going to be missed upon. Arcs is going to bump it in. Cataclysm with the goal. Arcs. Okay, this is trolling. You got to be trolling right now, bro. There's no way.
I do think they are. There was no open goal.
They're playing with their food, bro. You can't be doing this.
Well, look, you know, at the end of the day, once they score a goal, that timer stops, and maybe these guys have places to be. If they score as many in this as they did in the last one, we'll be looking at a best of 3 hour-long game. But look, yeah, they definitely are toying with their food a little bit here, which you wouldn't necessarily recommend doing, but they also are kind of trying different styles of plays, different ways of build-up, which I can respect, as Arcs finally puts one away there to get it on the scoreboard. Again, yeah, just practicing that kind of slow dribble, getting it over one, getting it over two. Relatively simple goal to score, all things considered.
I mean, a little Ronaldinho-esque, where you had the little flicks to beat the opponent and then just go ahead and beat another defender. Like, why not? Just go for it. But, yeah, I gotta say, maybe the manners aside, they're doing pretty well for themselves at Cataclysm. I gotta say, Durham Arts is playing really good defense against Durham Arts right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, their defense certainly has improved. I do think that is something that they can take away, but again, now they just have no cohesion in terms of rotation. They're caught all in the center, no one at the back, and Durham Arts could have capitalized on that 10 times over if they were really trying to add to the scoreboard here. So, look, I think we're at that stage where we can safely say in this game, in this series, we know what we're seeing, we know what's happening, we know what both of these teams are thinking, and it's just a case of whether or not there can maybe be an upset, a certain change and shift momentum. But the minute left in this game too, that does not look likely.
1 minute remaining, and Ark's gonna put it on goal. Maybe put this thing away. Who knows? Habibi is going to miss on that one, and Catacliffe chases it up into the air. And again, the dominance of the skies from Durham Arts, it cannot be understated. One team is clearly more comfortable with it than the other. And oh no, that's a ball right to Habibi and Catacliffe. We're going to try to keep this thing out. Drift trying to bump it on. Catacliffe plays it on through. Habibi going to look for the goal, but it will be blocked away by Dutch Otaku. And what else can you say at this point? Arcs looking to bang it off the... Oh, Catacliffe just missed on that.
Yeah, I mean, that looked like actually a shot that they were legitimately going for and missed. So again, you talk about a little bit of complacency maybe setting in. Could have been a moment there where, you know, they were trying it, it didn't quite happen. And listen, maybe... you know, there's so many situations where you say with games and with teams, hey, look, don't take your foot off the pedal. I mean, I know I've been saying it a lot already. Make sure to bring this game home. But, I mean, with a series like this, the way that it's turning out, I mean, if there's any series you're going to take the foot off the gas a little, it would be this one.
Yeah, and that's... What else can you possibly say? Like, this is Durham Arts. They were definitely playing with their food. You don't want to see that necessarily. And maybe it's against the spirit of the competition a little bit. But at the same time, they were afforded the opportunity to work on some things. They were afforded the opportunity to play around, have fun. That's ultimately what you want to do in these competitions anyway, right? And, yeah, only 4 shots on goal. We know this what they can pile on, what they could have piled on in that instance. And... what else? Not a whole lot that you can say about this. There's no real storyline to this. It's just a bunch of hammers falling from the sky above.
Yeah, hammers from the sky above. That's absolutely correct. And look, I think you're right. You know, you could say that maybe it's a little against the spirit of this, you know, to be toying with your food a little bit. But, you know, I kind of would go back to what I said before, and that, you know, maybe they're just trying out new plays, working out some new things, but not putting the finishing touches in there purely because I think both of these teams have a realization of where this series is going to go from this point. And, you know, why would they go in here, trounce a team and make it 3-0 where they're winning all these games 8-9-0 and just, you know, disappointing them? And not only that, fundamentally, would just have these games running longer. They've gone in, they've clearly beat their opponent in the mental game as well as what they're doing in the pitch. So just go out there, get those games done, get those goals in, and maybe they're going to take that same attitude in this game number 3 as we're ready to get this one underway.
And we will see how this goes as we are already underway. 10 seconds into this one. No score, so already a development there as we see a demo. Dude, that's Durham Tech getting a demo. You know what? If you're not going to play the ball, you might as well play the body. There's no cards to be given out in Rocket League, so you might as well just take them out. Why not?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I say that to a lot of teams who are struggling against the bigger teams. If a game isn't going their way, just try and implement a little bit of dirty Rocket League. You know, go for those demolitions, go to knock people off a line, go to disrupt their positioning, because so much of what makes these teams so strong is the way that they're just so rigid in their positioning and how they orchestrate with each other to the point it's second nature. It's natural for them. So if you can disrupt that rhythm in any way and create an opening for your teammate, that's just... It's the beginning pieces of getting something together, right? Not that I'm going to dare say Durham Tech are going to go as far as maybe put something together like a well-orchestrated goal here against the talent that is Durham Arts. But, you know, again, learning, adapting to your opposition. All of these are things that you can take with you as you go to play in future.
And maybe a little bit of an over-pursuit on the side of Durham Tech. They're going to roll it along. They're going to tee it up for them, and they're still not getting these goals. So, again, maybe a little bit of a lack of communication on the part of Durham Tech. It would speak to some of their defensive gaps from the beginning of the set as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there is gaps, certainly, in how Durham Tech have played. You know, Durham Arts having a little bit of a gap.
Wait a
Durham
second!
Tech actually managed to score a goal, and look... I think that again just comes from complete complacency, which the way that the series has gone, maybe slightly understandable, but still you had the opportunity to get that triple clean sheet and it's kind of gone away there. And now 2 minutes in, you're chasing the game. Granted, if there's any team you think could chase a game and pull it right back within a minute, it is these people.
I mean, it's either Durham Arts getting complacent or Durham Tech is implementing the biggest pool hall hustle of all time. I don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe we're about to see Durham Tech's true power or something like that, but we're going to have to see now. Is Habibi going to put the ball in? And still not touched on into the corner as Dutch Otaku is going to, at the very least, try to corral it. A Bixie Amity trying to play it on, but Habibi clears it on in, and that could be a goal for Cataclysm as it is assisted on by Habibi. And yeah, just the ball kind of bouncing around. It's going to be a matter of who's going to bump it into the more opportune place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of cohesion to it, but you could at least sense a little bit of communication between the two primary goal scorers from Durham Arts.
Yeah, I mean, they got there in the end. They realized, look, we have to get a goal. Let's go and get one. But I mean, that's almost a little bit of a shame. I was kind of buying into the Durham Tech pool hall hustle idea that you planted into my head there. I kind of had this idea that some lone person had gone in to the bookies and put $1,000 on Durham Tech to win and were laughed out of the room. Everyone laughed and they took the bet, and we're all of a sudden going to be shaking at the knees. But you know,
break out, Lucille.
Break out, Lucille. Someone's having me on here. But look, 1-1, 2 minutes to go. Anything could happen, but that anything like most likely looks like Durham Arts scoring another goal, which is just
yeah. You know, the timing on that, I gotta say, was perfect. Well done, Zeb. The comedic timing, I should say.
Yeah, the caster curse strikes again, you know?
Oh, of course. I mean, anything could happen, including exactly what you expect to happen. So, as we are getting into the final 2 minutes of this one, Durham Arts with the lead, and you never know what could happen. Bixie Amity, though, I do kind of wonder. Durham Tech, they can do stuff, but they just got to know exactly where they need to be and how to get into that position. Because I feel like they have an idea of what to do, but they're just not really. They're not really getting into the flow of things. They're just not really able to find where they need to be because they're charging into that ball. They're going like almost recklessly into the goal, but they're still not getting the touches on the ball. So that tells me it's a little bit of a positioning issue and maybe a little bit like just. I think that can be fixed with practice, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, if I was to kind of hazard a guess at the level at the moment of Durham Tech, I would say maybe silver, gold level players playing up against maybe diamonds. I mean, actually, I don't even know all the levels of the ranked in Rocket League. Forgive me. Yeah. But like, I do think, when you're at the level of Durham Tech, as silly as it may seem, you do learn from the very basics. You do learn from the practice. You learn from playing more. I mean, I personally, as by the way, nearly a fantastic goal that was expertly saved by Arcs in the end, up playing the fourth man there for Durham Tech. But I remember when I started playing Rocket League, it legit took me from on and off playing about 3 years to even attempt going into the sky, right? That's how deep the learning curve I feel can be for Rocket League. So there's so much to learn that you can just get from just repetitive playing and just picking up things here and there from your opposition.
Absolutely. And Durham Arts, as we go into the last 10 seconds of this one, it was a rout in game number 1, and they were sort of playing with their food a little bit, but eventually these dogs are going to eat. They bump it on one last time. They're going to try to get one more goal, but the ball will fall, and that is all. Durham Arts got that dog in them. They've got the 3-0 victory in this one.
Yeah, congratulations to Durham Arts and commiseration to Durham Tech as the Durham Derby rolls the way of the Arts. And, you know, I think across the board, you can look at the scores, you can look at whatever. It's not really reflective of the talent levels. I think if you want just something that sums up this entire series, you go back to that game 1 where you had both of these teams not knowing how they were going to fare up against each other. And we very quickly saw who was bringing the numbers and the talent to the game. And, you know, no disrespect to Durham Tech, but they did get, I feel, a little bit humbled at moments in that game. Durham Arts, perhaps, as you said in that game number 2, maybe playing with their food a little too much, toying with their opposition, not having as much respect as we'd like to see. But again, you could also look at it just showing off some skills, showing what they can bring to the table. And yeah, I think Durham Arts are going to be a team to watch going forward. Durham Tech have a lot to learn, but I think they will have learned something from that series.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I really do think it just comes down to whatever you can learn from that series. I don't think it's something that you learn tactically speaking. It's more you have to learn how to make shots. You have to learn how to position yourself. You have to learn what rotations are. You have to just play Rocket League. And you're right when you say that the learning curve is really hard in this game. Like, it does take a little bit to get yourself to the point where you're confidently you don't just pick up the game and start going for flip resets, right? You're learning how to even position the car so that you can make the ball go where you want it to. You're learning how hit detection works. You're learning like the opportune time to go for demos as opposed to playing for the ball. It's a lot of things do translate over from like traditional sports, but at the same time, in terms of game awareness and positioning and maybe a little bit of the tacticianry, at the same time, a lot of it really is just very specific micro mechanical movements with your fingers that you just have to get down at some point if you want to excel at this game at a higher level.
Yeah, completely agree. And then once I think you got those things nailed down, and I think maybe this is something that we kind of seen in action, it's that you actually have a team that are capable of doing some things, but they haven't figured out yet how to do that against an opposition that can be very aggressive and very quick to the ball. So it's just about, picking yourself up, trying to get quicker, trying to get your angles more on point, and just making what might be a 2-3 second play, turning it into a 1 second play, making sure that you're the first one there, and therefore you're controlling the momentum of the game. And, we've seen a fantastic series number 1 there. And it looks like we're just about ready to get into the match 2 of this evening. Reidsville versus Riverside in another best of 5, about to get underway with this game number 1.
Another battle in the Piedmonts. Reidsville going up against Riverside. You're absolutely right. I am kind of wondering about this roster situation for Riverside. What I can confirm, Reidsville with Killer Snipes 42, Macho 573, and Razor Rad going up against BLR 0 and We Love XLM. I don't know who we is, but go figure. And I believe that we are ready to go. I think they've readied up already. I don't think we need to take a break, do we?
Who needs a break?
Talking to our producer Robert Morrison. Shout outs to them. But going into this game number 2, and here we go, Riverside and Reidsville. And okay, so we don't have anyone on Riverside. This is a 3-on-2. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now this. You want to talk about disadvantages, and we saw this a little bit last week as well, at least over in the Southeastern Division. There was a team that was having to go 3-on-2, and it, nary to say it was a foregone conclusion in that one. And really just goes to show you, just as positioning is important, well, yeah, where those cars are is certainly going to determine what happens. But yeah, how many of those cars you get to have on the field, I would say also pretty important there, Zeb.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Riverside at a huge disadvantage. Would be shocked to see any of these games go their way. But look, again, you see a 3v2. What's that one thing we talked about in the previous game that a team could take into a situation like this? And that is complacency. Reidsville could just go into this one taking their foot off the gas pedal, and we find themselves in moments where they maybe want 4 cars on that pitch that's not quite going for them. But also keep in mind, for those of you watching at home today, that this is a best of 5. The graphic does say best of 7, but it is lying to you. This is a best of 5, so the first 2-3 will be the one that is the winner of this one, as we're a minute and a half in, and in a 3v2, still no goals. Quite surprising.
Yeah, first of 3 players, that's already been won by Reidsville, but yeah, first of 3 games, certainly. First of 3 wins. Banked off of the corner, Wheel of XLM, almost with a play. Demo on the team down a man. That seems a little rude, but nevertheless, Killer Snipes is going to get their ball saved. Wheel of XLM coming on through and getting a spectacular save, I gotta say, as it's bumped on BLR 0, looking for the... was about to get the goal, but no, 2 cars in front of the net. That is kind of the luxury that you get in trios when one team is down a man.
Yeah, absolutely. You just get that extra man. I mean, look, you're in a 2, the way you're going to be able to get a goal is just by really catching the opposition off guard, because by the time you orchestrate passes to get past 1 or 2, well, bam, they have a third there ready to mount an almost free defense, but no player there ready to challenge, make their life difficult. So you could almost on the side of Reidsville just have a player goal hang and probably do quite a decent job, but I imagine they will try and play it together and try and get up this pitch. But as we're over halfway through this game now, still again no scoreline. Maybe we're seeing a nice little situation of where, yes, Riverside may only have 2, but the skill level of that 2 is going to make it really interesting against the 3 of Reidsville. I'm really not sure who's going to pick up this first goal.
Yeah, it is kind of going either way, isn't it? As we see it bumped on towards the blue side. I mean, Riverside making this rather interesting, if nothing else. I mean, do you think it's a matter of them playing with their food? Because BLR 0 is kind of flying through the air like they know what they're doing. It's, I don't know. I'm seeing a good deal of quality from Riverside. Oof. And BLR 0 is actually going to bump it on and get the goal! Down a man, but not down in heart. BLR 0 is going to put a 1 on the board for Riverside, and down 2 vehicles to 3, it's Riverside that draws first blood here, Zep.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were pointing it out perfectly, is that they seem to know what they're doing flying through the air a little bit, and when they went forward in that attack, I mean, I don't think the pass came off quite the way they wanted it to, but they had an idea how they were going about that attack, so I think they are aware of obviously completely aware of the fact they're playing a man down, but as they concede one there, unfortunately enough, I think Riverside are playing in a way where, look, they are going to suffer from their mistakes being a player down, but they're playing passively, they're waiting for their opportunity, and when they get it, they make sure to strike. But again, being that player down, if you make even a little mistake, you're going to pay for it, as Reidsville even it up.
Yeah, it's hard enough being down 2 cars to 3, right? It's even harder when you make yourself, when you're occupying only one part of the field because you both decided to go for the same thing at the same time. We Love XLM is going to atone for that, going out of the goal and eventually running into BLR 0, but it's a great assist off of the backboard, serving it up, and We Love XLM is eating good. It's 2-1 with a minute and change remaining.
Yeah, I mean, another great goal. Once again, we're seeing them be the aggressor. I did say about them playing passive, but once they sense an opportunity, they make sure to go for it, and they were up high, putting it against the backboard, having Reidsville sitting under the goal, not being able to do much, and then it was just put away with a nice little finish. I mean, Riverside, with massive credit to them, a team of 2, they certainly know how to play together as a team, as they may be able to sneak a game number 1, and I might give them a bit of confidence going forward in the rest of this series.
Yeah, and as we were seeing, We Love XLM trying to clear it out. Killer Snipes, by the way, the goal scorer on the Reidsville goal. And well done as it was. Again, you're talking about positional errors in the back and understanding the roles. We have 30 seconds remaining. Reidsville, this is a frustrating game number 1 for them because they have not really generated all that much offense. All things considered, it's 0. It's going to clear things out, or We Love XLM, excuse me, staying in the back and maintaining their duties. But Killer Snipe trying to dribble it on and not finding anything. Razor Rat is going to bump it forward. We Love XLM with a beautiful stop and is going to parry away another opportunity from Macho. The ball will fall, and that is all in Riverside. Look at that, flowing on through that game number 1 by a score of 2-1. The game score says it all. BLR 0 and We Love XLM. I mean, definitely one has a higher score than the other, but goodness gracious, did they have an equal share in the spoils.
Yeah, my God, fair play to Riverside. They did see that game through, but it doesn't matter how good you are quality-wise at the side of Riverside. Reidsville had opportunities where they should have taken that game. I really do think Reidsville are going to look at that game number 1 as a missed opportunity, because Riverside were pretty good as a duo, pretty great even, but they were not perfect. They made a couple of huge defensive errors at the end of that game number 1. There was a few double commits where that goal was left completely open, and Reidsville had no one in there capitalizing. They had no one getting in and getting that cross or just getting in with a shot. They never came into the ball with any sort of momentum. It's almost like they were scared to get aggressive themselves after seeing what Riverside were able to do on that offense. And yeah, I think they had moments where they could have pulled that game back easily and let them slip by, and Riverside cannot afford to keep making those mistakes because eventually they are going to be picked up on.
Yeah, that's one of those things, and we alluded to it on the Reidsville Bowl. In fact, as we go into this game number 2, they cannot afford to be going for the same thing at the same time. If you are ball watching, that's bad. If you're ball chasing, that's almost worse, because that means that you have 2 cars committed to playing the ball at the same time. And if you both miss, that's basically a free goal for Reidsville, as it wound up being for Killer Snipes, as Macho is going to play it on towards the goal off of the backboard, trying to play it again, but Killer Snipes is there to at least recover. Again, maybe communication, one of these issues that's presented itself for Reidsville. If their positioning is on point enough, they can make quick work of this, as Razor Rat is going to be more than happy to show maybe a bit of a poacher's goal, but at the same time, it's bumped on by Macho and Razor Rat. Like to say, all you got to know is where to be in terms of positioning, as if we spoke it into existence, Step. Reidsville with the advantage. It's 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, we just seen exactly what we said would happen. Riverside, again, making another mistake, missing that ball in the back, and then having that be a mistake that costs you. But then, Reidsville, if you're going to go and make mistakes like that, you are giving Riverside every opportunity to get back into this one, as BLR0 sticks in the back of the net almost straight off kickoff, and no one's sitting in the back. A rookie defensive error there.
And we were talking about it, right? It seemed like a lot of them were over pursuant on defense, and that is going to cost you. You know, even if you have the numbers advantage, you can turn that into a numbers disadvantage, because that was essentially a 2-on-1. Zero and XLM going up against the one defenseman in the back, and all of a sudden, yeah, you're drawn up at 1 and kind of scratching your head as to what to do. Killer Snipes with a shot off of the post and the crossbar. Goes right side and looking for bar down afterwards, was not finding it, and now it is cleared on into the blue half of things. BLR0 trying to keep things out of the net, but it goes off of the top corner yet again. This is Riverside getting their chances, but not converting quite yet. But goodness gracious, are they looking dangerous on offense, as XLM, excuse me, sorry, I was looking at your microphone, is going to get another opportunity. Looking to bang it in. Razor Rat trying to keep it out. Zero says no. 2-1. Riverside. It's how it ended last time. And with 3:23, Zeph, this is how we're carrying on.
This game has been beyond hectic. I've been seeing awful offensive and
I gotta catch my breath
across the board. Yeah, I mean, it's been insane. Like, the way that this game has gone, both of these teams making defensive errors, not really being capitalized on. Riverside they've done this nearly every offense, and to be fair, the ones that they've missed haven't gone in, but Reidsville haven't managed to deal with it once. A very simple tactic from Riverside. They're just getting it up, getting it across, and going for that slam dunk finish, and Reidsville have no answers. And now that Riverside is starting to hit it, Reidsville are falling behind quickly here.
A little bit of a training ground goal, if you could call it that. I mean, just sort of chipped in out of the air off of the corner and bumped in. It's one of those things that you practice in the tutorials. Just, hey, let me angle my ball, let me angle my car this way in case the opportunity ever comes up. And I kind of wonder, Zep, do you think if it's one of those things where you're looking at mistakes, maybe Killer Snipe was late on that rotation, or was it again just a little bit of over pursuance from Razor Rat, as Zero is going to get another one? I mean, you can go ahead and break this down if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think just what we're seeing here is Reidsville really struggling to deal with what Riverside are doing on that offense, right? And coupling that with the fact as well that then Reidsville aren't capitalizing on the opportunities that Riverside are leaving them, because do not get me wrong, right? Riverside, they were missing some of those defensive efforts. They were not getting good clearances, and Reidsville were never there to capitalize. But then on the reverse side of that, when Riverside get up, Reidsville just don't really know how to deal with it either. So as we're seeing BLR0 get another goal here, Reidsville are quite passive on the offense, but then not passive enough to actually make it work on the defense. If anything, too passive, not getting in the air, and then Riverside are capitalizing. I mean, based off what we've seen in that game number 1, right? I did think that this was going to be a little bit of more even field playing ground, given the way Riverside were going up against Reidsville. I thought the fact that Riverside would play it down, but maybe had slightly more quality, was going to lead to a really entertaining series in terms of it being close. But as Macho gets another one in there, that has just not been the case at all. It really just has been a case of Riverside almost seemingly growing into this series somehow, which as a player down, I don't know how you do. And then on top of that, kind of Reidsville just shrinking into their shell a little bit, maybe getting more aware of the fact that this is in fact a 3v2 and that it's not going in their favor. But they still have time, 2 minutes left on the board, 3 goals to get back into it. It is possible.
You would think, right? I mean, Riverside with a little bit of showmanship as well, and I don't know, maybe it's Reidsville at some point kind of realizing that in terms of skill they might, I don't want to use the word outclassed, but it was kind of looking like that, right? Because of the potency of Riverside in the air, and I mean the scoreboard kind of tells you everything that you need to know, but certainly that play does as well. The bank off of the corner. I mean, pretty meat and potatoes goal. XLM driving themselves into the wall to get the bank. And then what else can Zero do but tap it in? A couple of goals on the game now, 4-0 and 6-2. A shocking scoreline considering the disadvantage.
Yeah, a shocking scoreline as well, just considering how that game 1 went. It's, you know, as I was talking about, just how even it seemed with Riverside seemingly just about having the advantage in terms of skill versus the numbers. But I just don't know how Riverside have grown into this game so well, or, you know, how Reidsville have not been able to really learn from what Riverside are trying to do. It just seems like they have no answer, and I feel like Riverside have tried to make this game more hectic as it's gone on, and that has worked a treat for them. Reidsville have been just completely just sapped of any structure when it comes to either defending or going forward, and I am just curious to know how much of that is due to the Reidsville not being able to keep it together, and how much of that is due to just the genius of Riverside.
Yeah, Riverside doing quite well for themselves, as we're seeing here. I'm not even sure if they're off of a river, if I'm being completely honest with you. I can only assume that they are, but nevertheless, 30 seconds remaining. And I'm not even sure what else to say about this game other than it is just utter dominance thus far from Riverside. As Reidsville are kind of left scratching their heads. They are going to rue some missed opportunities. But right now, I don't even know what else you can say, as Zero is going to have that goal knocked in from all the way across. And yeah, just misses on defense from a miss on defense from Macho. That's a 7-2 scoreline that we're looking at. That is a little crazy.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. But I got to give massive credit to BLR Zero there. What a goal. And as we're seeing BLR in the sky at the moment, full of confidence and pizzazz. Razor Rat hitting it to the floor, not quite in the zero, as it's still bouncing up in the air, but surely to God it does drop now. Or, well, never mind, now it does. God, never try to guess as a caster when that ball is going to drop, but it does drop, and Riverside take that game number 2 7-2 and go 2-0 up. And again, let's reiterate here for the audience, because your eyes aren't deceiving you, this is a 3v2 and Riverside are the team with just the 2 players.
An absolutely shocking turn of events, really, as we're seeing. Yeah, I think the game score says it all. 0 with all of the goals in that particular game. But yeah, XLM, 5 assists, again doing their part. I think the roles are pretty well established when you look at that one. But it's that's a beatdown. And if you're Reidsville, you're left scratching your head, wondering exactly what is going wrong. And you just got to accept that this town, whatever it is, Riverside, to my understanding, just to the southwest of Asheville is how I understand where it is. Yeah, they just kind of have some pretty good players, even if it's only 2 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the setup that they have is, I'll set them up, you knock them down, and that's the way it went for them, as they just stuck to a strategy. It worked, and Reidsville had absolutely no counter to it whatsoever. Riverside, they were playing the way that they wanted to play for the majority of that game, and really just seemed to have no opposition to it. I mean, if you're a team that is playing with such a disadvantage as having one less player, you revel in creating some chaos. You revel in that ball pinging back and forth. So long as it's never heading to your net, which will most likely be an open net, you're going to have a chance to be able to score and drag players out of position, which seemed to be just the story of that game. And even when players weren't dragged out of position, they were always struggling with the fact that that ball was just being crossed in, set up high, and then slammed down time and time again. And just what a fantastic performance. A real upset on the cards here.
Yeah, and it's a little upsetting if you think about it for Reidsville, because I think they might be going to game number 3. I'm just kind of wondering, what is it that you're able to do? Because you have the man advantage. You have to be better with your positioning. You definitely have to be better with your execution. But it feels like one of those things where there are so many things that need to be addressed at once that you're not really sure what they could possibly do.
I mean, look, you could maybe play the demolition game, right? You get in there, take a player out, because as soon as you take a player out, they only have one player left up on the field who will absolutely be chasing, right? And I think that's the number one strategy that they have to take it and maybe implement in this game number 3 as we're about to get it underway. But whether or not they do, I honestly have my doubts, because they have been struggling to adapt, it seems, in this series so far. And if Riverside can continue to have what they've been having throughout this series, dare I say, it could be a game-setting match right here.
We could very well be seeing that right now as we go into this game 3. 15 seconds in, and yeah, we're seeing just Riverside just moving around like bees around pollen. Like, what is it that Killer Snipes, Razor Rat, and Macho, due to, because it feels like they're playing in molasses compared to what Zero and XLM are doing, and we're seeing that right there in their movement, just the burst off of the turbo, the commitment to it, and the defense was caught flat-footed. There's really no way around it.
Yeah, I mean, again, terrific goal, all things considered, from Riverside. Reidsville, again, you could maybe say they should have done a better job, but I think that was a good goal. I think of all the goals that Reidsville have conceded, should I say, throughout this series, that is one I'd be a little less critical of. But yeah, even looking at their positioning now, they're just not as comfortable in the back line. They're not fully set up. The clearances, they're struggling with them, and maybe they're going to be able to get up here now, and they do, finally capitalizing on the fact that Riverside went for that double commit. They were caught up the field, and that's exactly what Reidsville need to do. They need to at least clear the ball in such a way where they're setting themselves up for a counter attack, because as Riverside get a bit more confident and start to push forward, they are leaving that back open, not some of the time, all of the time, and that's there to be capitalized on.
And now, as Riverside is going to, it feels like they addressed a few of the problems that we were talking about, because it was one of those close games in game number 1 that, good teams win pretty games, right? Great teams win ugly ones. And game number 1 was a little bit of an ugly game, all things considered. I think for both teams in many ways. I was kind of wondering maybe if that was XLM and Zero. In hindsight, you wonder if that's them just getting warmed up, because right now what we're seeing from Razor Rat is going to bump it onto Killer Snipes, who firmly puts it into the Riverside end. Killer Snipes looking for the shot, not going to find it, but Macho bumps it on in and gets the goal. I kind of wonder if Zero and XLM were warming up for game number 2. Could they possibly be cooling down for 3 as Macho goes right into the heart of the defense and pushes the dagger ever closer? It's 2-1 for Reidsville, who could be looking to mount a comeback.
Yeah, a very good goal from Reidsville, finally utilizing their advantage in numbers, it seems, and getting forward. And again, they just need to make sure to lock up this defense a little bit here, so Riverside begin to shrivel back in, not really have that confidence going forward, which is easier said than done with the way that Riverside have been able to go forward at times. But You know, as it again is going back and forth up in that center. No team really having full control. It is Reidsville fighting themselves, defending again. But this time, getting up in the air and defending a little more clinically, it seems. That's what they were missing in those first 2 games. Getting up high and making sure those slam dunks are not going in.
0 and XLM. Continuing on with this team play, but is bumped off. 0. Going to put it towards the backboard, but is blocked off by Macho as 0 is going to try to get an individual little tap in. XLM again playing well, but is a good demo by 0, who's going to push it on towards the net. Macho taken out of commission ever so slightly as Razor Rat. Oh, that's a big miss by XLM, but is able to recover just in time. Macho, however, going to put it towards the goal mouth eventually. Bumped in by Killer Snipes. There was no sniping about that one. That is just a pure... That's a scrapper's goal for real. Sometimes they don't ask you how, they ask you how many. And right now, Reidsville's got 3.
Yeah, scrapper's goal, and you know, scrappy in the sense that they just utilize the numbers. Again, 1 missed, 1 getting in there, but then having that final player up there actually able to get the finish in the end up. But we love XLM answering back with an absolute rocket of a shot into the top bins with just under 2 minutes left to go. We've seen Riverside score plenty of goals throughout this series, looking to get a couple of more to go back in the lead in this series.
You know, now that I think about it, Riverside is playing with a third man after all. That's the wall. They are utilizing that backboard incredibly well. These deflections off of these shots are going right to where they needed to be, and obviously these are practiced maneuvers. But the shot into the corner, right in the upper 90, 0 with another one, and beautiful positioning, gets that front left tire onto the ball and right into the corner. Nothing that any goalkeeper could do about that one. And with 1:46 remaining, Riverside has drawn this up at 3.
Yeah, I mean, that was an absolutely terrific shot. So much credit to them, but Macho answering right back with a terrific shot of their own, playing the angle. Someone got out the compass for that one, sending it, squeezing it, should I say, right into that top corner where neither player from Riverside could defend it. And that's a little bit of quality Reidsville had been missing.
Yeah, Sergeant, bring me my sextant real fast. That's just absolutely nutty the way that that was worked out. Macho getting onto the goal sheet again, but almost bumped in by Wheelup XLM, and that was just bouncing around the goal mouth, not quite pushed in. And yeah, I think Reidsville might have dodged a bullet there as we remain at 4-3, minute and change remaining as we're approaching that 1 minute mark. Rapidly, 0 going to put it on in and put it in the goal. That first one was a warning shot. The second shot did not miss. BLR 0 from the corner is going to lob it on in, and Killer Snipes, you gotta say, late on the defensive rotation. This is not the first time we've seen this happen, Zep.
Absolutely, and look, with that goal, we seen with that initial shot that came in, it was just cut from the same cloth of almost every other shot they've been scoring throughout this series, but didn't quite go for them. But they made sure that that second shot did, and with 1 minute to go, it is all tied up. But we have seen Reidsville now start to bring some quality to the table and utilize their advantage in numbers. Can they do that again and get themselves in the lead here and maybe get a game back on the board and start to reverse sweep this series? Because for a team that has the advantage in numbers, it's definitely on the cards.
Yeah, Killer Snipes, though, we saw that clearance into the middle. That is not where you want to be clearing a ball. I mean, just defensive principles from soccer. You want it high, wide, and far. That was right to the middle, as was that. Is going to be played out by 0, who's going to try to bump it on in. Good defensive placement by Macho, who's going to stand right in front of the goal. 15 seconds remaining. Macho in pursuit, but XLM is going to beat him to the ball. 10 seconds remaining. Killer Snipes is going to miss on the ball. Charging forward, XLM yet again. We're still drawn up at 4. And the ball is going to fall, and we have overtime in game number 3. Riverside playing for the set victory. Reidsville will fight to survive.
Yeah, another overtime, or I say another overtime, the first overtime, literally the opposite of what I meant to say, but yes, Reidsville hanging on for survival. Riverside ready to get the W, but can they do it here? Reidsville have thrown into this one, and they have found the 5th goal that was needed, and they have clawed a game back in this series to win this one 5-4. Getting up high, utilizing the numbers. Reidsville seems like they finally found the formula they needed.
And adversity, sometimes it builds character, other times it reveals it. Macho, having a hard time getting into it for the first 2 games, found a hat trick at the death of game number 3. And the game score says it all, double their teammates. But again, contributions all around. You saw the rotations, did it without demos, did it with good, clean Rocket League, even with the numbers advantage. We saw what XLM and Zero were capable of doing. That was a victory earned by Reidsville.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. Reidsville just seem to have learned what they've needed to do throughout this series. That game 2, they just seem to be absent of all things necessary to win this series. And it just seems like they learned. I mean, I know going into this game, into this game 3, I said that they need to get some demolitions, but that was just off the back of saying that they need to do a bunch of other things that you would think they would have figured out by that point in the series that they should have been doing, and it wasn't quite working for them. But granted to them, they seem to have learned. They went into that game number 3, they started to utilize the numbers more, they started to get higher in the air, create some opportunities of their own, and more importantly, capitalize on the mistake that Riverside were making throughout the entire series, and potentially could continue to make. It's whether or not now that they can keep this up going forward. I mean, Riverside are going to be looking to bite back here with a vengeance. They're going to be looking to just make sure that some of the shots that they were missing start going in, because that wasn't their best game in this series by any means. And I feel like if they start going back playing into their best form, then you could see Reidsville maybe in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, and that's it's a tough way to go about this, as it looks like we're getting into this game number 4. Reidsville did not look complacent at all. They knew that they were in for a fight and that they did not want to lose 3-0 to a team down a man, right? Like, that's they kind of knew what was at stake. And even though we're seeing the skill from Zero and XLM, we're not quite seeing. We got to see something more definitive from Reidsville. And maybe this is where they start kicking it into gear, because Macho is looking awfully dangerous. Just misses the touch under 30 seconds into this one. But you know that they're going to be looking for chances, and is already hunting for the ball. Absolutely thirsty for a goal, and was looking for another touch there, but XLM carries it out.
Yeah, terrific dribble by XLM there. Was in real danger in that defense, but just guided it through the opposition player spectacularly to get it out. But now it is up to BLR back on that defense to try and get it clear against some fantastic touches. Maybe an attack coming in here. I mean, they pass to each other so well, Riverside. Every single time they just manage to find each other, and I absolutely love to see it, and it pays off as XLM get first goal of this game, number 4. And again, it seems like the qualities come back here. That first minute or so that we've seen of them, they're looking really, really good.
Yeah, touched on yet again. And these plays off of the backboard, Riverside definitely have an MO. I mean, it's this is how, because we live in the world that we live in, we could say that they have a brand and they stick to it. But yeah, it really is this kind of play it off of the backboard, off of that corner, utilize a little bit of crash and bang Rocket League off of the wings, and from there, exploit a hole in the defense, as Zero is going to get demoed on the very side of the field. But yeah, it is kind of crashing the boards, letting your momentum carry you, and as you're seeing right there, Zero not afraid to use the boost at all. We love XLM. They have to be a little bit more cognizant of how they're utilizing their boost, because it's not easy to get those pellets in the heat of the moment, especially when you're tracking back on defense. If Reidsville picks up the pace just a little bit there, they are going to be exploited out of the back a little bit more often than they'd like.
Absolutely, but I mean, I am seeing a lot from this Riverside and Reidsville matchup that I've seen from this game to Reidsville. They have had opportunities going forward a little bit more, but they are turtling in the back. Riverside are finding each other so much on that offense. They're clearing it well on the defense for the most part. Of course, once again, proven completely wrong in the moment with impeccable timing as Reidsville managed to claw a goal back in Riverside. Don't manage that defense. Well, I mean, the fact that Reidsville are even having to struggle so much to keep themselves in this game in a 3v2, I think is just so telling of the quality on show. I mean, Riverside linking together so well, Reidsville, it's a little more free form from them, and I think that's what's costing them. The rotations aren't there as much, and that finesse and maybe the passing and the shooting, and definitely the power on the shooting isn't there, because we've seen Riverside hit some wallops into the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say they were turtling up a little bit, and you did mention that, and that's the whole thing. When you're standing still, that means you're allowing your opponent to build up momentum. If you're not playing the ball, you need to play the man, and one of them hit the other, and now all of a sudden Riverside is up 2-1. As we're going to see Zero playing the ball out of the back on defense. Razor Rat, who has done well in front of the net, all things considered, has been a credit to Reidsville on the offensive side of things, with Macho getting the share of the goals. Killer Snipes contributing as well with certain touches and plays in the midfield. I do kind of wonder if maybe it is because they're standing still that Riverside is able to look so potent in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're completely right with that one, simply because a lot of the shots that Riverside are having is from having complete control of that halfway line and setting it up high and kind of really just setting the ball down on top of Reidsville, just having it over them. Like, I'm always picturing that, I don't know if anyone's seen it, that Willem Dafoe meme, you know, where he's just looking up in the sky in sort of danger and horror. That's what Reidsville seem to be at times, as they see Riverside just fly over the top of them. And that's just because they're not getting confident enough in the air. They're not getting it up. They're not getting it clear. We see Macho do it a couple of times in that game number 3, and I think it works for them so well. But I just think so many of the qualities that they had here to have in that game 3 that they've begun to show have just begun to fizzle out again here in this game 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's shout outs to the Willem Dafoe thing. He might be B squad, but he's B squad leader, as Macho is going to play it on towards goal, bumped away by XLM. I referenced a completely different movie, in all fairness, as Razor Rat going to miss his Killer Snipes. Playing it in midfield, we're seeing a lot of these battles being won by Riverside in terms of, but it's really just because they're expending a lot of boost. Maybe it's a risky strategy, but when you're playing 2 cars to 3, it's a risk that you kind of have to take, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, 10 seconds left in this game. Reidsville desperate to claw a goal back. Will they be able to do it? 5 seconds left. It's cleared up from Riverside, and it's not gonna quite go their way. As it hits one, the ball's still in the air. They have one more chance, but it doesn't go their way. Riverside take the win. They take the series. You know, fantastic players on both of their teams. To quote a deleted scene from one of the Spider-Man film from our legend, Willem Dafoe, once again, you know, I'm something of a Rocket League player myself. As BLR 0 and We Love XLM decimate the opposition with a raw talented finesse, I'd argue. To do it in a 3v2, I mean, that is just bragging rights for days.
Oh, 100%. That's Riverside showing the class that they had. Reidsville was looking for it. They were anxious to get it, and they were put to work, all things considered, out of the back. I mean, 5 saves to 4. The fact that you're having to make more saves than a team that's playing a man down is trouble in of itself. But again, XLM and Zero realizing when to utilize that boost. It never really seemed, because we were talking about maybe resource management as important as it is in a 3-on-2, but yeah, it never seemed like they were reckless with it. It never seemed like they were using it just for the sake of using it. It seemed like there was purpose, and it seemed like it really gave them extra presence in front of the net that allowed them to get those big Karens off of the wall that generated so much of their offense to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it was just a case at the end of the day. Riverside were the more disciplined team. As you said, they were disciplined with the boost. They managed to just get up and utilize it in the right positions. And ultimately, I think across the board, utilization is the number one, is the key word to say, right? Because at the end of the day, you're playing in a 3v2, you're a player down, so you've got to utilize the assets that you have to absolute perfection. You've got to utilize your numbers in defense because, quite frankly, you don't have many numbers. You got to utilize your positioning, your boost on the map, and then make sure when you're going forward on the offense, you are making it count. And they certainly did. So massive congratulations to Riverside and commiserations to Reidsville, who, you know, all things considered, they showed moments where they could play some really good Rocket League, but it was just that turtling up, failing to get up into the sky, into the air to get that ball clear and establish some dominance that seemed to be the costing factor for them in that series. But folks, for everyone watching at home, we are going to take ourselves to a short break, but make sure not to go anywhere, as game number 3 will be with you in just a few moments.
Welcome back to the Rocket League Showcase here at VESL alongside Zepp. I am Stu, the announcer, and Reidsville had a tough time with Riverside in the last game. Right now, they have a shot at redemption going up against Warren County. That team, Swift Attacked, Swift Full, and Voice Box. So, Tact, Full, Box, not really sure what they've got going on, but I can say that they're going to be dealing with a Reidsville team that is looking for a measure of vengeance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Reidsville, after losing a series to a team that only had 2 players, that is going to hurt the Eagles a little bit. So they're going to be going into this one looking to regain, looking to get the basics done right, looking on how to improve after that last game, because quite frankly, there was areas that they could improve on. And maybe you're hoping for opposition that'll just give them a little less trouble, you know, even though they may be a 3, they might not be a 3 that is of the same quality of Riverside. So we are going to see, I suppose, as we'll be getting ready to get into this game number 1 any moment now. But I am really excited to see this one. I do want to see if Reidsville can maybe claw their way back into getting a bit of momentum out of today, because I know, again, as I've said, after just losing that one, it can be hard. But Warren County, going into this one, going to be looking to cause even more embarrassment for Reidsville.
Yeah, and it should be interesting to see this as we go into the game number 1. I kind of wonder what Warren County is going to be able to bring to the table. At the very least, going to bring a sweet-looking buggy skin in this one, as Swift 2 Tact is going to pursue, maybe looking to play the body a little bit more than they will the man, and they're going to be made to pay for that as Killer Snipes, remembering the sort of things that happened last time, does not want any sort of repeat of that. Going to be off of the post, goes bar down, and goes up 1-0, 7 seconds into this one, Zach.
Yeah, getting in early, getting that first goal, exactly what Reidsville needed, but they need to continue this. They need to garner a bit of momentum quickly, as they already seem, off the kickoff at least, to have a bit more control and are coming into this with a lot of aggression, which we did say in that last game that they did seem to lack aggression at times, and Warren County are struggling on this defense as Killer Snipes sends it back across, and Macho's in off the crossbar. It's bouncing up and down, doesn't quite get in. Killer Snipes kind of on the prowl again, lurking, but it does look like there is going to be a counter now from Warren County. Reidsville have started really strong in this first opening minute.
And it's a tough go of it if you are Warren County, because that's a team that you're looking at that has a little bit of motivation, and perhaps you're not even privy to that piece of information, because Swiftful is going to burn all their boost. Swift Attack has a little bit more of it and is going to have to use it here if they want to pursue this ball and beat Killer Snipes to it. Indeed they do. 54 in the boost remaining, but good defensive play, but not quite far enough to get it away from Razor Rat, who's going to put the second goal in for Reidsville.
Yeah, Razor Rat scoring a good goal, a relatively poor clearance, but to be fair, it was capitalized on well, getting wide on that angle and kind of getting a read of where that ball was going to go. Good positional play from Reidsville, which again is better than what they were doing in that previous series. The turtling up, the lack of positioning is what they struggled with, and they seem to be course correcting here. 2-0 up, looking good for them so far.
What we're seeing from Macho and company, ironically enough, Macho, the main goal scorer in that last set for Reidsville. But what did I say about clearance? The principles of how to clear: high, wide, and far, in that order. That was, you tried to put it wide. That was on the ground. That was right to Razor Rat, who was able to just sort of turn it in. And Macho, again, you're finding presence on the ground. You might as well pick him up. And you're going to see that one. Razor Rat bumps it on, and Macho is going to be more than happy to clean that up. Trick or treat time for Macho, as each of Reidsville's players are going to be on the board 3 minutes and 15 seconds into this one.
Yeah, overall a good team performance from Reidsville so far, and Warren County really struggling. We haven't seen them orchestrate a proper offense as of yet. They're really struggling on this defense to get good clearance. Again, you know, that ball has not been really hit with any momentum. It's just been hit in an area where it suits Reidsville to set up another attack, and Warren just, again, not meeting the balls in the air. It's just not working for them whatsoever at the moment, but credit to them. That was a nice hit that could cause issue. Macho, should I say, good on the defense though with that clearance, and maybe Warren County, they just can't quite get it in. But it's nice to see a first offensive effort from them, because it looks at least like they will be dangerous going forward.
kept into the blue half by Warren County Voice Box, trying to make their presence known. No stats on the board quite yet. Swift to Tact has been put to work on the defensive side of things, but it's going to be bumped along, and Macho clearing it on in and looking to get a little bit more on the board for Reidsville, trying to put this thing away. And again, you talk about a team playing with motivation. Certainly, these Rams are bucking mad, but Swift to Tact is going to try to bring them to heel ever so slightly. These birds are finally taking flight with a simple goal on the ground. Passes itself off of the thereabouts the left post, as it is going to be Swift to Tact, putting Warren County on the board at long last, just over 2 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, it was a relatively simple counterattack, all things considered, but orchestrated well, just on the ground. A nice hit to get it over, and then just a simple tap in the end of. So nice finish from Warren County, and what they needed to get back into this game, because you're 3-0 down in the game number 1, and that ticker runs down, and Reidsville are still looking dangerous. That can be a momentum sapper. That is where things can start to get risky for the series. But the fact they got that goal, they've proven that they can be dangerous and that they're ready to come back into this game and have it be a good fight at least. If they just about get that one clear, that could have been very risky. Reidsville up in the attack, but nothing really coming out of it as of yet, as now Warren County going up with a good opportunity of their own. Doesn't quite land, but going forward, they definitely have chances. But what a rookie error on the defense again. Not leaving anyone back, not reading the way that game is going, and those are the errors in defense that are going to cost you at any level.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the verbiage that I'm using, but that is a brutal mistake to make. I don't know. You're not getting away with that at any level, like you said. And someone like Macho, who is so good on the offensive side of things, is showing that proclivity. Swift to Tact, however, from the corner. That is a classy goal. Goodness gracious, to put it in from that angle, and it was already in danger of going in. All it took was a little bit of a nudge. That goal was scored on the first tap, not the second one, let's be real, because no one was in position to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely, but it was a terrific hit to get in there to such a danger zone. But now Riverside looking to get back with a goal of their own, but laying it up for Macho, who slams it down. And it just seems to be, in any instance where Warren County just get a little bit of momentum or confidence, Reidsville put them right back to square one with a not a very nice, but also a very simple finish there. Worked from the terrific assist by Riverside. And now Warren County, you'd think with just 52 seconds left on the clock, you'd be asking a little bit much of them to get 3 goals back.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that you want to be doing in the big stadium. Is Riverside and company are going to be more than happy with the result of this one. 35 seconds to go. I'm seeing a little bit of backpedaling here. Swift to Tact. Oh my gosh, actually, 3 touches. Oh my goodness. Swift to Tact. Playing a little tiki-taka, taking their sweet old time, and turning Reidsville into traffic cones as you're going in and out, almost like you're controlling, like a hockey player controlling a puck on their stick. Unbelievable stuff from Swift to Tact there, as it is 5-3, still 2 goals down, but a nice little display of class there from Warren County.
Yeah, taking it left, taking it right, and putting it in the back of the net. And speaking of the back of the net, Warren County, I said it was going to be tough to make up those 3 goals. They must have heard me and took that as a challenge, because we have 17 seconds left on the board, and they have just scored another to bring the deficit down to 1. They have a chance of taking this to overtime at the very least.
Swift to Tact, too legit to quit. And with 17 seconds remaining, Warren County have a shot. We are down in the last 10. Send the orange half. Gonna need to clear it on. Swift full. It's gonna need more than that. Gonna need the touch to keep it up, but the ball is going to keep in the air. Swift attack, trying desperately to keep this alive. Did not have the final touch in them. It would have been a very tough ask, in all fairness. It's left just a little too late for Swift attack. The magic runs out at the very end. Reidsville is going to take this one 5-4, but goodness gracious, we almost saw the makings of a miracle, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very tough act for Warren County, but my God, they were close to bringing it back. I mean, they played phenomenally to bring it back. I mean, Swift 2 Tack, 100% the MVP on the side of Warren County. 4 goals, and my God, the dribble goal that we've seen, taking it left, taking it right, putting it in the back of the net. But credit to Reidsville, they got the result to the end. They took advantage of the opportunities that they were given, because Warren Counties were making mistakes earlier in the game. But Warren County look like they have grown into this one, and if they can take that forward for the rest of the series, Reidsville are in for a tough one.
Yeah, and I think it's been made clear that they are in for a fight, and you kind of have to wonder if Swift Full, as indicated by game score, Swift Full and Voice Box didn't really have a whole lot to do with the outcome of that game. As we saw Swift Attack getting all 4 of those goals. What do you think? What do you think they can do, perhaps, to maybe turn the tide in Warren County's favor? Because again, it was Reidsville kind of running away with that one early on with the effort from Warren County. Just too little, too late at the very end. It's a cruel way of putting it, I'm certain, but certainly there needs to be more of a contribution from the other 2 players if they're going to get this one, if they're going to get this game 2 in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you can't keep relying on moments of brilliance, and it was moments of brilliance in areas that brought that game back to as close as it was. But I think if they're able to play the 5 minutes of game 2 the same way they played the last 2.5 minutes of that game 1, they're giving themselves a chance to sneak a result, right? Like, I think, dare I say it, overall for what we've seen this evening, this is potentially the most evenly balanced in terms of the sides that we're seeing play against each other. We're seeing the way that the styles line up. It is quite back and forth, and we're seeing momentum switches where one side looks dangerous, then the other side looks dangerous themselves once again. So I do feel like if they can just make sure that it's not necessarily moments of brilliance and that they just more so keep control, then they can pull this one back. And you know, you look at the way, especially that last 1.5 minute went, Reidsville were really, for lack of a better term, fumbling the bag towards the very end. They had that game locked down. They had taken advantage of opportunities that had kept them penned back, and ultimately were barely able to see the job through at the end. And we'll see going into this game number 3 if they can do a more thorough job of it and go 2 up in this series, or Warren County going to come back and make it 1-1. We're about to find out.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit more of utilitarian work from Swiftful and Voice Box is the key here. Macho going to keep it into the orange end of things for Reidsville, as we're going to see Swiftful trying to heed the call and looking for the goal, was not able to find it, but Swift Attack is able to at the very least pursue and contest at the other end of things, as we're going to see Warren County with a little bit of a positional reset, as Swift Attack just goes straight for goal but hits it off of the crosser. And Swift Attack all of a sudden looking for, Razor Rat. That looked like a miss on an open goal. I think Razor Rat's going to want that one back, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, Warren County, I don't know what they were doing leaving their defense so open there. It looked like they even had the opportunity to come back and they just didn't. Super bizarre one, but Razor Rat not capitalizing on that. And what did we say? You know, at Reidsville, you know, they capitalized on mistakes and they needed to keep doing that. But they haven't done it here and have instantly paid the price for it, as with 1 minute in, Swift to act with another goal in the back pocket, putting Warren County in the lead. And yeah, not a good start for Reidsville at all.
Not in the slightest. Killer Snipes, again, that's the whole thing when you're playing defense stationary. You're relying on Boost to just kind of jump up and hit the ball. You run the risk of being caught flat-footed. And Macho going to try to put it on goal. Killer Snipes looking to atone for the defensive lapse, perhaps, and was not able to find the mark, but how close Killer Snipes was to doing so. They're going to play the ball on in midfield and contest. At the very least, Reidsville showing for the ball all the time. And it's, you could say for better or for worse, right? Because they have been a little over-pursuant in parts on defense, and other times maybe not showing for it enough, as we saw on defense. As Killer Snipes is going to get demoed. Well done by Warren County with a slight man advantage going forward. But are they able to take advantage of it? Swift Full almost getting on the score sheet. And with 3 and change remaining, they're looking awfully dangerous in this one, Zep.
Yeah, both teams looking dangerous. I mean, I was about to say that this game seemed very scrappy in comparison to the first one, but now we're seeing both of these teams, I feel like, get into a bit of a stride as they're kind of going back and forth. Reidsville have moments looking dangerous, and then Warren County potentially answering right back. But it is about that score sheet at the end of the day, and Warren County still finding themselves in the lead, in the driver's seat. Reidsville chasing, and as we get over the halfway point in this game, they're going to start getting more and more aware of that clock. Of course, they have plenty of time to do it, but Warren County so far holding up a good defense.
I say Swift Attack seems to have an uncanny sense of where this ball is going to be, able to play it off of their opponent's deflections, realizing where their opponent is going to want to put the ball, and obviously the not shirking of the defensive responsibilities certainly important as well, as we saw that defensive rotation coming in time to get that save. Warren County, just over 2 minutes remaining, is maintaining that 1-0 lead. But Reidsville again on the hunt, and killer snipes almost living up to their name, making Warren County get to work on the defensive end yet again. And could we be seeing a little bit more of that as Razor Rat puts it back into the Warren County end?
Yeah, I mean, we could. Look, this game is just, I feel like the longer it goes on, we're really seeing it balanced on a knife edge now, where it could go either way. I mean, Reidsville, they are having just their opportunities where they have their sights on goal but not getting it done, and Warren County, to their credit, they're still sending it up, but it feels like they're playing more and more defensive. Although in saying that, they do have an opportunity to bury it here, they just can't. Swift 2 Act gets taken out in the act, but still a chance to send it in. Ooh. And they do. Voice box getting that final touch, and what an important goal for Warren County. 1 minute 16 left on the board, giving themselves just a little bit of breathing room.
You know, Swift Attack, I do want to give a shout out, because you know that Swift Attack wanted to get in on that ball. But Voice Box getting credit for the goal. It wound up being bumped in by the Reidsville players, right? 1 and change remaining. But Voice Box, all credit for where credit is due, lobbed on really well and was played by Reidsville, but nevertheless, you got to put it on the net. Killer Snipes almost with a goal. They're going to have to make this comeback within the space of 1 minute of game time. Macho playing for the ball now. And this is not the way that you want to be starting out this game. You do not want to be shut out. At the very least, you need a little bit of momentum going into game number 3, no matter what the result. And certainly Reidsville would like to have a 2-0 advantage going into it as we go into the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was possible to pull it back. We did see Warren County get 2 goals with only 52 seconds left on the board in that game number 1, but as this time trickles down, Reidsville are nowhere in sight when it comes to getting this ball in the back of the net, now down to 15, and it looks like Warren County have done enough to pull this series back and even it up. It really is all to play for here, but this game, I feel like the most even game that we've seen of the night, really. So back and forth. I think we have found a very evenly matched level that's going to make this an incredibly tantalizing series.
Yeah, Warren County, the Eagles flying high in game number 2, and we saw the makings of it, didn't we? Where Swift Attack, Voice Box, and Swift Full trying to get a little bit more of an offensive presence generated, a little bit more evenly distributed. Because, again, you're talking about moments of brilliance in that game number 1. But then it's a full team effort in game number 2, and that is exemplified in the fact that it was a shutout. Only 2 shots on goal for Reidsville, and it's because Warren County was able to exude some of that pressure all the way up through the midfield and prevent those shots from getting across to begin with.
Yeah, completely. I do think Warren County upped their game in terms of the entire team, but I do think Reidsville just... You know, we talk about them being a team of missed opportunities, where they had such an opportunity being a 3v2 in the previous series and not taking it. They had just instances here where they had moments to send that ball up to have a shot, or be considered a shot at least, but in the end up their positioning, the way that they're coming onto the ball, the actual power of the shot is so weak that's not even considered a shot. So they did have opportunities, they did have moments where they could be dangerous, where they just either needed to put the final touch on the ball or the clinical touch, and they didn't quite have it. And that just seems to be an area where they're struggling to be consistent in game to game, because we have seen moments where they do have it, and then in the next game it be gone from them again. Can they pull it back in game 3 or not? We will see very shortly, but Warren County just seem to have grown into this series. We did say game number 1 that they have Swift 2 just really grown into it being that MVP, and now the rest of the teammates kind of growing behind. It seems like that they just are loving the series as it goes on and are looking more and more dangerous throughout.
Yeah, I mean, no shirking of the defensive responsibilities in the back from anyone, no matter if it's Swift Attack, who's being tasked with I would say the lion's share of the offensive front of things. VoiceBox did get a goal, but it was also getting touches off of the ball. Swiftful, we saw going back on those defensive rotations, challenging, showing for the ball in midfield, as we're going to get to that game number 3 shortly. I really do feel like this is one of those games where you have to win this one in order to... You need a claw on this game. You need to make this set yours. You don't really have a choice in this matter. You need to make sure that dominance is established in this game. And I really do think, like, whoever wins this one, I think it's probably taking the set, just in general, because I don't know if it would be in 4 or 5, but the chip off of the way, like, it really might just come down to who's able to show for the ball, hit it with the most momentum. And in that sense, as you alluded to, Zepp, I kind of have to agree that Warren County has been a little bit more dangerous with their chances, a little bit more dangerous on the ball.
Yeah, well, I mean, this game number 3, as you said, is just such a massive one now, because it is just where it hangs in the balance. You know, it's even once more. Where is it going to go from here? Who is just establishing that in the center of the series that they are the team to beat? And yeah, it can be massive for the mentalities going forward into the rest of the series, of course. And yeah, just going back to obviously the point we were making about Warren County, they're a team that's looking dangerous and looking to continue being dangerous, as it's Swift to tack with the slam dunk. Only 45 seconds into the game, number 3, and Warren County going 1-0 up with a lovely, lovely, lovely goal.
Goodness gracious me. 2 taps off of the bumper. Warren County, the Eagles in full flight. Swift attacked on the forefront.
Now, going back, Razor Rat trying to even things up.
No.
And what is it that we're seeing with so many of these games today, that one team scores, the other answers right back due to just a calamitous error in the defense? No one on that line. Big mistakes being made as people were just getting boosts and getting set up, and all of a sudden, not even 1 minute gone, all these teams evened up in a series that's evened up.
Far be it from me to correct you, Zep, but there was someone on the line. It was Swift full, and then he left it. And the thing is, you're leaving it to pursue the ball, and you have to hit it straight up whiffed. I mean, Reidsville, you saw Razor Rat probably felt the wind off of that through the window. I mean, it was not exactly the way that you want to be kicking off the proceedings of this game 3, especially after the advantage that you have just garnered through some great aerial display from Swift Attack. Swiftful needs to do better out of the back there, but again, you have the ability to do so, and you certainly have the... Oh, but you maybe need to be a little bit better with the anticipatory measures on the defensive side. On the defensive side of things, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, Warren, they are now struggling on that defensive side, but Reidsville, again, failing to capitalize on the offensive side. I mean, just a couple of seconds ago, they bought into a fake. I believe it was Swift to act on the defense rather than just sending it home. And just, again, Reidsville, they're a team that just seem to kind of lose out in moments where they can't see it through. But if they keep getting these moments, which I think Warren County definitely in this game 3 have been offering more of, they will be able to at least put one through and get themselves into the lead, as we're now nearly halfway into this game. It looks, and an open goal missed. What did I say about Reidsville? Half of this game gone, still tied at 1-1. Reidsville should be in the lead, but that's another opportunity gone to waste.
I mean, to Killer Snipes' credit, it's a miracle that they even had that chance. The play off of the wall, all that was missing was the final touch. And it was an opportunity that you would think someone would be absolutely jovial to have, and certainly Killer Snipes was, perhaps salivating a little bit too hard, because again, that last touch just simply not there. Although certainly the intention was, as VoiceBox is going to play it, to keep it in the blue half of things. Swift Attack is going to get demoed, and that is going to put an end to that particular offensive measure from Warren County. It's played into the corner. Is Voice Box going to be able to get to it? The answer is no. And now Macho able to carry it on into the Warren County end of things, but it's cleared right towards the goal mouth. And Warren County is being made to do a lot of impromptu defensive work. And it's really just a matter of how well Reidsville has been able to utilize their boots to get these really decent clearances, just sort of vertically up the field.
Yeah, they're getting some good clearances now, playing well on the defense, but shut my mouth as it is Macho coming in to give Reidsville the lead here at a vital moment in this game. 1 minute 20 left to go. Warren County not having a player on the line, and Warren County, they were getting good clearances but having to deal with continuous offenses from Reidsville, and eventually they were able to capitalize on them. And now with this lead, Warren County back to chasing this game, and not a position you want to be in with only a minute to go.
Yeah, the bend not break mentality only works if you don't break, and that is one of those things that you just pointed out. Just over 1 minute, and now exactly at the 1 minute mark. Voice Box, Swift attacks need to be in better communication when it comes to the defensive responsibilities, because they have an idea of what it is, but Reidsville have gotten the message on playing physically. Well done off of the line by Swift Full. And now it's they've gotten the message when it comes to playing with physicality, and they have targeted Swift attack with intention in that half of things so that they can get those clearances, utilize that boost, and pretty much get a free ball into their own half.
Yeah, I mean, they really have been improving in that end. The finishing at times still leaving somewhat to be desired, but they are just creating more and more scenarios now for themselves to look more and more dangerous, as once again that ball is floated into a risky area but was cleared well. But with 10 seconds left, Warren County still chasing the game but still finding themselves in the defense. It's been all Reidsville for this last 2 minutes.
Ooh. Yeah, it's going to be a brutal one. Killer Snipes is going to knock it down, and Reidsville with the victory. It was an ugly game. Let's call it what it is. But Reidsville pulling it out, and Macho doing some work. 3 shots, 1 of them went in, and 2 saves to boot. Again, you're looking at a good all-around performance. You're looking for those all-around performers, all things considered, because it's one thing when you have all the goals, right? But if you're only going to be working in the attacking end, then you're not really of value to a team at the higher level. Colleges are going to notice that sort of thing, and they're going to want to work with you on your defensive responsibilities. Macho is showing no such shying away from putting the gloves on and reaching into the sewer, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would think that Macho is the MVP for Reidsville, just what I've been seeing from them across the board. As you said, that offensive effort has been good and clinical, but on the defensive effort as well, even in games where I've seen it not quite work for them, any player who's just on the side of Reidsville had a moment of shine, it's always been Macho. Even in that last series that they played where they managed to pick up a game, they picked that up because Macho managed to pull it up on the defense and carry them through the mistakes that they were making and then capitalize on the offense. So definitely having a player kind of drag them through the mud in certain instances, but I do think as a team now, they are starting to play really, really well. They're starting to hammer home Warren County, who seem to be really enjoying the kind of aggressive, frantic play of the game and being able to capitalize a lot on that. But now the pace is slowed down. There's kind of a pattern building, and they're just struggling now to get out of their own half and really establish any dominance. And as we go into this next game, if they can't find a way to disrupt the rhythm again, then they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
One last reflection on that game number 3. 4-1 the demos in favor of Reidsville. They have started playing the man. They were targeting, and I think I alluded to this during the commentary of game 3. They were targeting Swift attack with considerable alacrity. They were not trying to shy away from it at all. With enthusiasm, they were attacking the top goal scorer for Warren County as the ball goes just off of the upper 90, and Killer Snipes was looking for that goal. Could very well find it still. Indeed, he does. That shot that missed before was not going to do so again. Plays it on Razor Rat. Touches it towards Killer Snipes, who is going to take that goal. Maybe not from the range that the name would suggest, but nevertheless, hey, again, they don't ask how, they ask how many. And right now, it's Reidsville with 1, Warren County with 0.
Yeah, Reidsville, they're just looking so good. Whatever Warren County had going for them just seems to have collapsed here. Any chance they seem to have on goal is just like, again, a moment rather than them establishing anything. We talked about them potentially being a moments team with Swift 2 acting that game number 1, and that kind of idea of what they are as a team in this series has really come back to bite them, as now the only thing they have to rely on at moments, because the only things they have to rely on are the moments, should I say, to untangle my words, is because Reidsville are just establishing such a dominance here. But in saying that, maybe a nice counter-attack here from Warren County if they could see it through. It's Calamity at the back, but it is cleared. Razor Rat sending it out, and now Reidsville back in the attack.
And it felt like a play where no one was sure whose line it was. Warren County did not know who was supposed to be scoring in that moment. Killer Snipes makes no such mistake. It's a bang off of the crossbar by Macho, and Killer Snipes goes with it off of the half volley and puts it in. And yeah, we saw it at the end. Reidsville, you were talking about calamitous action in the back to the point where it was a wide open goal mouth. We saw it between Swift Full and Swift Attack, not really able to get that final touch. It seemed like Swift Attack just barely missed it. Was played off of the ball pretty decently, but no one really there to tap it home. And like you were talking about, maybe just a few chances that might have gone amiss that Warren County is going to rue, much like Reidsville did in that game number 2. Right now, Macho and Co. looking really good to move on with the win with just under 3 minutes remaining. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
What were Reidsville doing? I believe a player must have had ball cam off for that moment, as that is a complete out of nowhere moment. As it is Macho not looking the right way, and that ball just saunters its way into Reidsville's net, and Warren County giving themselves a lifeline, but again from a moment. And that, you know, that goes back to what you were talking to, and the fundamental difference now, it seems to be, is that Swift 2 Act is the player doing a lot of damage for Warren County, but no one's following up, whereas Reidsville are always able to follow up, and if it's not a follow-up needed, it's always Macho putting that first time finish in place. A really nice goal to give Reidsville that 2-goal lead again, and now nearly halfway through this game, Warren County in massive trouble.
Yeah, a nice little loping shot over the defense on the half volley, almost getting a look on goal there. A little high and wide, but, you know, so it goes. And, yeah, I can only imagine what our producer, Robert Morrison III, is thinking. Just with my head, hands on my head, for half the game. Macho is going to get another goal! And we saw just how agonizing that was about to look. Putting it off of the post. Razor Rat, it looked like, was going to get a cleaner shot on goal. But Macho says, you know what? Let me go ahead and make up for that. Leave it, leave it, leave it. And Macho goes ahead and makes no mistake with the second attempt. 4-1, the Rams headbutting their way in. You might as well go in, guns blazing. Got to charge in through the front door. Reidsville doing just that.
Yeah, fantastic play from Reidsville. Warren County do seem to have collapsed a little bit here, and Reidsville are capitalizing on that with every opportunity that they get. And you have to give them so much credit, because the way that they've grown into this series, right? I mean, they did not look like they were given for this by any means, especially off the back of the last series that they've played. But they've grown, they have learned, they have adjusted to their opposition to the point where now in this game 4, they're looking pretty dominant, which I don't think dominant would have been the number one word he would have used to describe them just a couple of games ago. Now, massive credit to them, but we've seen crazier things happen. Minute 4 he left on the clock, 3 goals in the lead. Those 3 goals could go quick if you do not keep your heads in the game. They need to think about seeing this one through.
Yeah, and the excitement is palpable for Reidsville. They are feeling it now. A minute and change remaining, and Macho is going to get that 5th goal. And we were talking about, you know, going on the offensive and taking those chances with alacrity. Macho has certainly been doing that. Killer Snipes and Razor Rat. I mean, this is a scrappy performance that we're seeing from Reidsville, and now it seems like the magic has worn out for Swift Attack in Warren County.
Yeah, absolutely. The magic well has run dry for them, but then to Reidsville, I mean, what better way to guarantee your lead than to put another in the back of the net? Potentially had the opportunity there for another again. Macho not quite having the success that they have normally found on the offensive shots, but once again being able to send it up. I mean, Macho has been everywhere in this series. Talk about an MVP for your team coming in clutch in what has been a very strong team performance regardless, as I feel like Warren County just for these last 2 games have barely left their own half offensively. I mean, even though they've had moments, gotten goals and maybe been dangerous on counter-attacks, they have not had any dominance in the latter part of this series, as they get a good defensive clearance there, but now with 30 seconds left, virtually no time to pull this game back. It's all just gone for them at the vital moment.
There you go. Killer Snipes going to put the 6th nail into the coffin. And yeah, we're talking about how you are on defense, because I mean, it's almost like how the Germans play football, right? What's the best method of defense? It's possession of the ball. And we're seeing that with Warren County. We're seeing possession. We're seeing them get their touches, but it's all light little taps in their own end. They're not getting those dangerous chances on in the blue half. They're trying to carry it out slowly, like a point guard carrying the ball up the court, and it's just not how it works in Rocket League. As we go to these last 10 seconds, Reidsville, it took a little bit of struggle, and despite the individual efforts of a few players, it will not be enough from Warren County. The ball will fall, and that is all. The Reidsville Rams charge on through to a 3-1 set win.
Well, massive congratulations to Reidsville and commiserations to Warren County. They had their moments, they had their opportunities, but they just dissipated throughout the series, whereas Reidsville learned from the mistakes of the previous series, adjusted to their opposition throughout this series, and ultimately came away with a Game 4 victory in dominant fashion. 6-1 final scoreline, and then of course looking down at the scores, you have Macho, the standout player, again 3 goals, 2 assists, 7 shots, but also making sure to get a save and a demo in there for added measure. Fantastic individual player performance combined with a pretty decent team performance, I think was ultimately the difference maker for Reidsville.
Yeah, and not to sound tendentious, but we did see the motivation, the motivating factor for Reidsville in that last game where they were going up against Riverside in the 3v2 and not having any of it. They were kind of outclassed in that. So now to see them get a little bit of revenge and get that win over Warren County, now you have to think, if you're swift to tact, you've definitely worked on the individual side of things. You're willing to get back in there. You're willing to scrap it out on the defensive thing. You're on those rotations, and you're getting up the pitch as well. You're finding those boosts. It might not come so freely when you're playing those higher quality teams, and I think that was getting found out by Reidsville later on. So it makes you wonder what the ceiling is for both those teams. And for some of these players, like we said, the sky is the limit. And certainly we're going to be seeing just how far some of these players can go. And I believe that is our last match of the day. Zepp, thank you for joining me. What a day that we've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, it really has been a fantastic day. We got to see some great games, and just to add to your point there, I mean, yes, the ceiling is sky high for both of these teams. I feel like both of those teams that we just watched in that series, they definitely have bits to learn, that's for sure. But I think we even saw throughout the series, these teams kind of learn from each other and adjust. And I think going forward, that's ultimately how you become a better player. And I think it's the fantastic nature of a tournament like this, where you just get to see these teams across all these high schools play against each other, learn from each other, and then ultimately from there, kind of the pick of the crop rising to the top, as we get to see some maybe standout players who will get to move forward with potential Rocket League careers in future. But yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere, and for these teams, they've definitely showed that there's potential there.
100%. Folks, that is going to do it for the Rocket League Showcase at VESL for today. Our producer has been Robert Morrison III. My co-caster has been Zepcast. Follow him on Twitter at Zepcast. In fact, I'm going to do that as soon as I sign off. I've been Stu the Announcer. You can follow me there at Stu the Announcer. And until we meet again, folks, happy gaming.